All right. There's a green light. So that means go. All right. Hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you today. We are going to look at some documents from DPI going back to 2021. But first, we're going to look at some reporting by a competitor of ours from today, and sort of see what they say is the problem and what they think is going on, because we think that reporter knew all about this back at least in 22, because we told them. That's how it is. And we're going to come up against this theme time and time again, which is what happens when you do all the work, but other people come in, take credit for it, but then possibly move the needle forward. Do you, as a philosophical question, what I'm asking you is, do you accept the fact that the needle is moving forward, or is it more complicated than that? All right, let's see where we're at. So, this is WUWM News, my local public NPR public radio station, let's put it like that, to distinguish it from many of the other ones that are public but non-NPR related news. Here we've got Posley. I think there's Hal Leonard in the background, and in the blue suit behind him is our governor, Tony Evers. All right. So earlier this month, Milwaukee Public Schools Superintendent Keith Posley resigned amid the district struggles. And again, this is the byline here is from Jimmy Gutierrez and Rob Larry. I have never crossed with them ever. I have no idea who they are. I used to know every single reporter at WWM for lots of different reasons, but it's fair to say I'm not as plugged into public radio as I used to be. All right. To make sense of this moment, we wanted to provide a breakdown of what we know to understand all the turmoil. Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel education reporter Rory Leanne, I think that's how it is. I've only been introduced to her as Rory, shares her reporting on the local politics of MPS and what happens now with the state's largest school budget. As Rory explains, the democratically elected school board is the top of MPS's power structure. They do have a little chart that shows the people of the city of Milwaukee above them, but, hey. They have the authority to hire and fire the superintendent. However, the superintendent also has a lot of decision-making power regarding the budget and offices beneath that office. I don't like that. I'm going to rephrase that there. The superintendent is a statutory official who has some certain statutory powers and statutory duties, who is, among other things, manages and supervises the employees of the district. And generally speaking, all school boards in the state of Wisconsin hire a superintendent who then manages, again, the actual policies, does the hiring and firing decisions, and the school board may ratify or veto those decisions after they're made, but they don't make them in the first place. And their main power over the school district, besides setting policies, is their control over that superintendent. There were severe problems within the finance office of the Milwaukee Public Schools, Leanne says. One major problem was the high number of vacancies, high rate of turnover, and lack of institutional knowledge and lack of training for the staff in that office. That is her opinion. That's coming, I believe, directly from Matt Chasen. We've seen him say that in several board meetings all of a sudden. We didn't hear that happening ever before Posley was gone, but now they say we've always said we had the staffing issues. I'm not exactly clear to me what that means and why that would affect this and why they don't hire these people. But we also had the nerd, there was this, we'll get into that, come and say that she volunteered to go to do this job. She went to HR and they told her that they weren't accepting any applications for these positions. So we also know that. I also can tell you, breaking here, I have it on at least two credible sources, that Matt Chasen is no longer with MPS. I'm going to repeat that. There's two sources at least here that confirm to us that Matt Chasen, as of I think yesterday, is no longer employed by Milwaukee Public Schools. She continues, on top of that, they were not using a good system for their accounting. They had a software system that seemingly should be, this is directly from Matt Chasen, in my opinion, should be able to do what they needed it to do. They weren't using that system for everything. They were using it like a series of Excel spreadsheets to get some of their tasks done. And what that introduced a lot of opportunities for error, especially when you combine that with an inexperienced staff. Now, I'm sure Bruce Almighty and others are going to tell us, any CPA is going to tell us that that is a recipe for having off books, or what do you call that? Second set of books is what that, I mean, that's literally describing having multiple sets of books. And what is the problem? One of the problems is you can end up with a situation exactly what everybody's saying we have here, which is that you can't account for money because people are allowed to spend money without it being accounted for on a global or organizational level. That's exactly what that means. I guess I want to say that I don't feel that that's the tone of this does not reflect what's actually happening. I said these inconsistencies is not a word that I would use. It sounds like this multiple sets of books delayed the availability of the budget information. That sounds right, which delayed the preparation of Department of Public Instruction's aid estimates. After some time, and in a rare move, DPI went above the superintendent and informed the school board of the situation. Soon after, the superintendent Posley resigned, followed by the chief financial officer, and then the comptroller was fired by the district. That part, some of that's true. I say in a rare move, the DPI went above the superintendent and informed the school board. I would say that's unprecedented. Yeah, there's a slant there. There's definitely seems to be a slant there. I don't like it. When DPI first notified the school board at the end of May about the previous accounting errors, they did say that this could result in the district getting less aid in the next school year because basically they were overpaid in the last school year because of these errors. We've heard that on the recording between Matt Chasen and Aisha Carr. We've heard that. Which is another reason why this seems to be all coming from Matt Chasen. There could be around $35 to $50 million that would need to be made up through either taxpayer money, budget cuts, or by dipping into the district savings account. Again, sounds like Matt Chasen. However, the vice president of the school board said that the district will seek to limit the impact on taxpayers. Okay, does that seem like a reality? And there we got it. All right. I guess there's 12 minutes and 30 seconds. We'll leave a lot of that out there. But there we have that. Now, we've got something else. And if you'll just give me a second, we'll set that up here. So here we have, I think they call it the receipts. This is, of course, a public records request that we got from response that we got from DPI some years ago in response to the Jeremiah holiday. And I just briefly, if you'll indulge me here, this is going to be a long video anyway, but yesterday, Debbie Keither was, the city of Milwaukee versus Jeremiah Holiday case was supposed to go forward. This was now the fourth time that it's been delayed. The only information I have on why it was delayed was that yours truly sent a request to videotape the trial, and the next day it was the trial was delayed. So that's the only information I have on that. You can take from it what you will. That's a limited set of data there, but it was surprising. I will tell you that after some little effort, they have allowed me. That is, the Milwaukee Municipal Court is allowing me to view the case file. So we'll see if anything comes of that. I sure would be interested to know what reason there was for delaying this yet a fourth time. Before the referendum, it was delayed. It was delayed 2 other times. They had to get a special prosecutor. I get all that the first time. I mean, delays happen, but this assault, alleged assault, happened in 2 years ago. So it's astonishing to me, but hey. All right. So Department of Public Instruction, January 14th, 2021, to Executive Committee. This is, I think they call this the cabinet, if I'm not mistaken. I know that at this time they were so concerned about the situation at MPS that they had developed a special MPS monitoring team that was in close contact with many whistleblowers from MPS at that time. Literally the pause button is the greatest thing ever because now I got, all right. So, purpose for this communication, the linked teams structure for joint monitoring between special education and Title I is working at the MPS district improvement team level. Jeez Louise. Okay. Straight off the bat, we're going to need some straight up translation from this is like bureaucratic education-ese. So we're mixing bureaucratic language with educators' language and putting them together. Now we've got DPI speak. Amalgamations. Okay. Just one thing I wanted to point out from Title I and special education teams. Is this what DPI is suspending MPS's funding for right now? Yes, Ben. Yes, it is. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. Okay. And is working at the district improvement team level. So this is in 2021, DPRI already has a district improvement team for MPS. I think that's what we're talking about. MPS leadership has not complied consistently with the expectations of the linked team structure. Again, 1/19/2021, over 4 years ago. I don't think Tony Evers was governor yet at this point. This communication contains a brief history, the current issues, and the executive committee decision points for January 19th of 2021. Ooh, I love when people repeat the word brief in front of history. As a way to meet federal monitoring responsibilities. Oh, is that linked to what we're talking about? It is, Ben. It is. Thank you, Ben. A support district-selected improvement efforts using research-based strategies. DPI offered to facilitate a linked team structure in MPS during the spring of 2019. After several attempts to meet with MPS leadership, which they initially ignored/delayed. The old brush off, the old brusharoo, the old cold shoulder, if you will. The district agreed to engage in this structure in late fall of 2019. And this, why I'm being flippant here is two reasons. Number one, even at this point, they're using minimizing words, weasel words, and so forth. And 4 years have gone by. And so they're clearly talking out of both sides of their mouth because they could have done this in 2020. They could have done this in 2019, 21, 22. Why did they do it in 6 months before the election? I don't know. As of February, the district was in compliance with the work of the link team structure. In March and April 2020, the district improvement team meetings were paused due to COVID-19, with an option to re-engage in the link team structures beginning in May. The district opted to continue. Okay. The first MPS leadership team meeting occurred in July 2020. Okay, so this is the first time that they formally met to discuss these issues that they were already out of compliance, was in July of 2020 as in a formal setting where they all met together. The MPS leadership team was made aware during the presentation that in order to be in compliance with federal funding, IDEA, CCIES, and ESSA, TI, CSI grants, and district improvement grant reimbursements cannot incur if the steps outlined, I don't know that that's a complete sentence, which were the MPS selected strategies related to Ambition Instruction 2.0, that is all Debbie Keither right there. That is 100%. Ambitious Instruction was Debbie Keither and Dr. Holliday. And staffing within CSI schools were not implemented. Now I got it. We told them that federal monies, reimbursements, we can't give you federal money unless you do the following. Whew. I think we were in a triple negative situation. But we made it. That's the paragraph we're talking about. Sorry there. As a means of addressing barriers, the district leadership team in July was asked to provide a process, timeline, and leadership team point person for review, approval of professional learning cycle, a process, timeline, and leadership team point person for decision-making related to a professional learning data system. They're just exactly what they're doing now. A process, timeline, and leadership team point person for the development of a staffing plan for CSI schools. District replied via an update during the August 2020 District Improvement Team meeting. Oh, okay. So July, August, they're meeting monthly at this point. I wonder how long it says that they had been meeting monthly with MPS. DPI had been saying that they had been meeting monthly with them back in 2020. Have you ever seen that in the news? District replied via an update during the August 2020 District Improvement Team meeting. The staffing plans updates were not sufficient to meet compliance, but other updates were in compliance. The second MPS leadership team meeting occurred in October 2020 as a means of addressing barriers named by the district improvement team. The district leadership team was asked to address the following. What are the actions, including a timeline, of administration to ensure that 1, all staff fully participate in the professional learning plan, focused on, again, ambitious instruction. Thank you very much, Debbie Keither, including 2, minimum number of training hours, and 3, coaching. This is all Dr. Holliday. And of course, going up the chain of command. Given the task force overlapping focus on staffing, what is the district's commitment, including the timeline, to develop and implement a CSI staffing plan as promised in the summer of 2019? And again, let's talk about Dr. Holliday here for a minute. We have to understand that about this time, many educators were coming to the board and anonymously complaining about Dr. Holliday. Look it up. It's in the Debbie Keither complaint. Okay? And at that time, Keith Posley put Dr. Holliday up for promotion to chief. And in response to the board, in response to receiving these anonymous complaints, did 2 things, according to the Debbie Keither complaint. Number 1, they kept Jeremiah Holliday as interim chief, not full chief. And 2, they allowed Keith Posley and others to retaliate against Dr. Keither and others for, I guess, allegedly or supposedly blowing the whistle or making anonymous complaints against Jeremiah Holliday for the issues that are outlined in this letter here. So that's where all that comes together in terms of you have the federal complaint, which they've been on notice for. You've got Jeremiah Holliday. You've got these issues with DPI, okay? Not also to mention the fact that there's other curriculum issues. I mean, ultimately, what Debbie Keither is doing is making sure that the district is in compliance with the DPI reading curriculum requirements. And those funding is tied to those requirements. Here, what we're discussing is special education, which overlaps with Debbie Keither because she was involved in ambitious instruction, which is just one of those names but that they put on programs. Okay. On December 10th, MPS improvement team requested that DPI lift 2 barriers to the MPS leadership team for immediate resolution. That is a barely comprehensible thought. 1, approval of a work-through tool to collect adult practice data aligned with their ambitious instruction 2.0 professional leading plan, and 2, approval of funding for add-on functionality to their frontline suspicions to collect and analyze adult practice data. Here we go. LaToya Holliday. That is Dr. Holliday's wife, who at this time worked for DPI. Sent an email request to Marla Brunei, who, if you can recall, is mentioned thoroughly in the Calvin Furman exit interview. And at this time was, I think, a chief, and the only chief who reported directly to Keith Posley. I could be wrong about the chief part. That information, I believe, is in the Marva Herndon and possibly Bob Peterson depositions. Okay. Response by December 16th. Receiving no response, LaToya followed up. Wow, they went to her first name pretty quickly there. Again, I think the point that I'm making is kindergarten teachers and females, and particularly black females, there is a tendency to use their first names, and it may not be in a diminutive sense, but it's not clear. I mean, this could be showing one of two things. It could be showing diminutive, a sort of disdain for her, or treating her less than other people by using the first name and not, for example, Miss Holliday. It's also could be the fact that she works with all these people and they know her on a first name basis. So that could also be indicating that. We'll see how consistent they are using that, if at all, throughout this document. LaToya followed up. Now, again, you might say, is it appropriate for DPI to send the wife of somebody whose husband arguably has a role in this issue to go and communicate with DPI above that? Maybe she's the absolute best person in the state of Wisconsin. There is nobody else at DPI who can do this as well as she can. I don't know. But you might wonder that. As a result of no response from leadership, DPI canceled the 1/14/2020 improvement team plan meeting. Oh. So even when they sent the wife of somebody who worked at MPS to go try to contact them, who at least presumably you would think would have a better ability to contact them, MPS still didn't do what they were supposed to do according to DPI, so DPI canceled the meeting, is what I get from that. In the short term, we have worked with MPS on an agreed-upon linked team structure. MPS leadership has failed to comply with the work structure a minimum of 4 times. In the initial discussings regarding the shared responsibilities, the July 2020 request regarding CSI staffing, the October 20th request regarding CSI staffing plan, and the January request to address barriers lifted up by the improvement team. All right, I couldn't resist here. But CSI stands for Comprehensive Support and Improvement. And the Every Student Succeeds Act, that's ESSA, requires state educational agencies to determine school eligibility for comprehensive support and improvement. Local educational agencies, that's LEAs, with schools that meet the criteria for CSI must collaborate with educational partners to locally develop and implement a plan to improve student outcomes. Got it. Okay, here's what I'm getting from that is, here are a bunch of federal funds. We will give you a bunch of money. In order to continue to get the money, You need to demonstrate that you have done X, Y, and Z things. The sense that I'm getting is MPS took the money and spent the money, but is unable to demonstrate that it did X, Y, and Z things. This is causing problems for DPI. That's what I'm getting there. All right. All right. So this part I think is fascinating, and this is the executive committee decision. So this is what DPI is going to do. We are not asking executive committee to follow up on the specific request of the MPS leadership team. Instead, we are asking for a decision on how better to hold MPS leadership team accountable for responding to and engaging with DPI within the agreed upon improvement structure of linked teams. Here's what I understand that to mean. We need your help to make MPS do what they promised you to do, which is how DPI is fulfilling our monitoring obligations under federal laws. Hence, back to CSI again. They were to have monitored MPS. This is the problem here. Because if they have failed to, according to them, if they have failed to correctly monitor MPS, then they, meaning DPI, has a problem. And it seems like they're admitting that they have a problem. They're trying to figure out how they can get MPS to do what MPS already promised to do, which was what it should have done in the first place. Or at least something like what it should have done in the first place. Okay. 4 times now, MPS's leadership has stalled the improvement work to which they committed through failure to respond and or delay tactics. The Title I and special education teams are lifting up to executive committee this delay as a barrier to moving this work forward, as well as non-compliance. And we are asking for directions from the executive committee. Examples of... Wow. I've heard of, the lower guys doing the work for the upper people, but this is something else. Okay, examples of support that would be helpful. Here's things that you can do to do your job. Decision to support direct outreach to Dr. Posley from an assistant superintendent directing compliance with request. Okay, this is how it works. There's one superintendent, there are 4 assistant superintendents. If an assistant superintendent gets involved, everybody knows that it's extremely serious. That's my understanding from Ben Jones. Okay? So communicate to them that we are taking this seriously. That's what DPI is asking of the workers at DPI are asking Jill Underly to do. It doesn't seem like she did it. Communication plan to link weekly Big 5, that's the Big 5 school districts in the state, Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, Green Bay, and Madison, so that the state superintendent or deputy assistant superintendent can address concerns, barriers, needs. Decision to include school board president, get Bob Peterson involved here is what this is saying at that time. He would have been the school board president, as far as I understand, on leadership team and or in selected communications. Now, we're going to do a whole other video on that, and we're going to, but that is going to be because the school board says, and they told the news now, that there was limited things that they knew, and that basically the superintendent wasn't telling them everything. So here are the workers at DPI asking the DPI management to tell the school board president what's going on. Okay? Decision regarding fiscal implications of failure to delay agreed upon work structure of linked teams. Make a decision to restrict their funding if they don't do X, Y, or Z. Do you see that what they're talking about here? And that's exactly, I think, the point. I think I can highlight this here. if you want what is a smoking gun here against DPI, this is what I think you have. This is the workers at DPI asking DPI management, Jill Underly, elected Superintendent of Public Instruction, to make a decision regarding the financial indicator, what you're going to do if they continue to fail or delay what they promised to do. So you all have to ask yourselves what happened between 2021 and 2024. And why did they decide to make this decision 6 months before an election? You tell me. All right, here we are. I told you we had the receipts, and that is what we call how you break a story here. So, once again, DPI, everybody knew, MPS knew, everybody knew, going back to January 14th of 2021. Stick with us. We'll keep you informed.